things have changed. I'm no longer working for the company that I worked for before, but my own software firm is still alive and kicking. I think the biggest, most obvious transformative of these changes really gets the most drastic of the changes that anybody has seen on this particular channel. Is this. So basically the story goes, the company that I worked at before, they did layoff after layoff after layoff after layoff after layoff. The writing was just kind of on the wall. You know, I was on a sinking ship that was also on fire. So it eventually got to the point where I was like, you know what, I got bills to pay. And a couple months before the layoff actually hit, I decided to start this process. Anyway, the layoff rounds eventually get to my department. And of course, we're affected by it. So then fast forward about 8 months, I'm on a completely different side of the world, basically an entirely different person. Not really, I'm still me, like, that's not fucking changing. But I'm a lot healthier than I was, and I'm a lot more physically fit than I was, which is really good. Like, I think it was like maybe a year or two ago, you know, I couldn't imagine running a mile, much less 2 miles, much less maintaining a 10-minute pace. And then here I am beating all of that, like it's nothing, before breakfast. Which, like, really in the grand scheme of things isn't all that impressive. I still have a very long way to go as far as my physical fitness is concerned, but it's a far cry above what it was before. So this kind of begs the question, like, what exactly is happening? Where am I going from here? What's the whole deal? Like I mentioned, my own software firm, still alive and kicking it. You know, we've got a few different projects that we're planning, a couple different games in the works. We've brought on, I think, 1 or 2 developers, and they're leveraging AI in a pretty interesting way that, like, I think is actually pretty cool. Now, me personally, I'm going to be working on a little bit of fintech stuff, particularly this one project that I'm actually really excited for. I'm still kind of in the early, like very early phases of it, trying to plan out the architecture, you know, tech stack, all that stuff. And I'm kind of just torn between C++ and Rust for 2 very different reasons. C++ because I want to get into game development. I want us to push more towards game development as a whole, and that's kind of the industry standard. But also Rust because, like, it's a nice language-ish. The syntax is dog water, don't get me wrong. But I like the memory safety aspects of it. I like the borrow checking. It's wonderful. I've been thinking about getting the Neo. I don't know if it's any good. I don't want to, like, spend a bunch of money on tech that just won't work, even though it seems like it might. So I don't know. If I can get the cheaper option and go for the Neo and do everything I need to do, that'd be great, but, like, I don't want to spend all that money and then it not be useful for what it is I'm trying to do. Does that make sense? Okay, also the other, like, really big, massive change is obviously I no longer have a lot of my recording equipment, and the main reason for that is when I ended up shipping off, I decided to just sell off or get rid of basically everything that I didn't need in order to do my job and run my software firm. Which means recording equipment, you know, microphone, lighting, green screen, all that out the window. If it wasn't literally just a laptop and a cell phone, gone. Which I think honestly is that a really massive improvement on the creative state. Because by forcing myself to take this more minimal footprint, it forces me to think a little bit larger in terms of what I can do with less, if that makes sense. Which I think honestly is kind of the drive for wanting to do this fintech project in C++. All that being said, it's been a very long time since I posted anything on here. I think right around a year. But point being, with the new people that I've brought on the team and the tech that we're adopting and the projects that we have in the pipeline, I'm very excited for what we have planned this year. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting year to say the least.